Hey, you all. Hey, everybody. Hey, my Frankie Shaw. Welcome to you all to One Thursday again because today we have to celebrate Elevate Summer Virtual Camp. I'm here. I'm your campy camp counselor, and it's me, Samantha Letois, and this is my friend, Kisha. Hey, Kisha. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Ooh, he made that sound, honey. And remember that every Tuesday we are here for you, honey, because this is Elevate Virtual Summer Camp that we are providing by Unity Coalition every Thursday at 7 p.m. here on Facebook, like the fan page. And remember, because this is interacting on Facebook because it's free and fabulous. If you want to get more information about the virtual summer camp that we have here in Unity Coalition, go and check it out, that website, unitycoalition.org, o en español, coalicionunida.org. So, Kisha, tell me what's going on.
Well, I'm excited to be here. This is our second week of doing Elevate. I am also your Campy Camp counselor for the second week in a row. And I am actually looking forward to tonight's topic because, I am someone who is very sexual, but I am also very spiritual. And I don't feel like I need to choose between the two. I feel like both can exist. We're very special humans with needs, both spiritual and sexual, as well as financial, emotional, physical, whatever it may be. We're all human beings who can be complex, and just because you're spiritual doesn't mean you have to deny your sexuality, and just because you're a very sexual person doesn't mean that you can't be a person of faith. So I'm really interested in having the conversation and also hearing maybe things that I haven't heard yet, things that can help me on my spiritual and sexual journey.
Absolutely. This is a great opportunity for all of you just to know more about your faith, what you believe. And being an LGBT person doesn't make you less or more than another person. But before to continue that, I would like to recommend you guys that this is not over and you have to keep your mask on. Esto no se ha terminado, así que, honey, colócate esa máscara, póntela como sea, amárratela a un lado, just tie it on the side, honey, just, glue it on your face, but you know what? You better get that mask because here in Florida, the numbers they're hiding every day. So, in order to continue with that, and the numbers are being very, very high. Oh, listen, that phone number is on the background, so forget about it. So, in the meantime, let me remind your emergency help fund for South Florida and LGBT service industry and artists is here. That's why Unity Coalition has this option for you. Micro Giving Fund Coronavirus Crisis. We need your help. Your generosity has helped dozens and many more needs assistance. There's still people that are losing their job for the reason that restaurants and bartenders, waitress, dancer, performer, all of them they lost their job. And this is the opportunity to you to help us to continue serving for the community and helping others. Micro Giving Fund Coronavirus is just for you. Go to the website unitycoalition.org and scroll down until you see the beautiful green icon Micro Giving Fund and help us to donate because every single money, every single coin is going right away to the community so we don't hold anything. Help us to help in the community and also don't forget to follow us Unity Coalition fan page and share with your friend because that's the best part. If you don't have any money, honey, there is somebody else that have that money for you. So that's my recommendation for you. Let's continue helping the service community because Micro Giving Fund is an opportunity for you. If you lost your job, you don't got any income, honey, don't worry, we got you. We got it for you. So go to Micro Giving Fund and fill that out the form so we can help you.
Yes, also, I'd like to add in regards to the micro giving fund, since March, uh, because of donations from our beautiful viewers and our beautiful supporters, we've managed to raise over 3,000 and we're breaking it up in
Yes!
giving those prizes, giving those scholarships away to those who qualify. because we have a lot of people who are in many of the positions in jobs that Samantha just mentioned in South Florida. You go to your bars and you see the people who are working behind the scenes, the people who are working at the bar, at the door, on stage, entertaining you, providing a great time for you. Now it's time for us to do what we can for them also. So
Yeah.
we are still accepting applications for anyone who'd like to apply to receive any emergency assistance. But I just want to say I love all of my LGBT owned businesses in South Florida, all the entertainers, all of the service workers. You all do amazing. And if it wasn't for you, none of us would have a community. So, because it can't all be about protesting, it can't all be about serious issues. We have to let our hair down too. And I thank you all for providing a safe space for that and making me feel welcomed and having a good time. So thank you all.
Absolutely. And to all my people, let me remind you, Elevate Virtual Summer Camp free for grab pounds. Honey, so let me tell you, every Thursday evening, 7 p.m., July to August 2020, live on Facebook. But where? Just go to the fan page on unitycoalition.org fan page on Facebook, and then you will find everything that what is going on with Elevate. But Kisha, let's explain to the people what is Elevate. Elevate is a program that has been in Unity Coalition for a few years, and it's just a word. What's the word of elevate? What means that you be nice with yourself and with others. Have fun, get relaxed, get less stress, and disconnecting from the toxic and toxic people. Because, we are passing by several situations right now that we just want to the people enjoy their time in a home because sometimes they don't have any entertainment, they don't have anything. But Elevate is a great opportunity for you just to have fun, honey, get home, disconnect it, and see what's going on right here. Before that the COVID-19 happens, Elevate it was a huge program by Unity Coalition that we did outside and play with others. One time was at the Miami Beach Botanical Garden and also was
Mhm.
amazing. We have a workshop. We have so many artists that participate, dancing, painters, and it's good. So, but this time with the outbreak and everything, we just want to do remotely from home and still have fun because it's free and fabulous, right? So let's continue with what we have tonight. Tonight features spirituality, sexuality, and religions tolerance. It's a panel discussion and revenue by John McNeil. It's an openly gay Roman Catholic priest and author spelled by Jesuit Who. So, honey, this is the day, and we want to talk about what your fee, what you believe, and be a LGBT person doesn't make you less or worse than another person. God love you the way you are. This body will disappear. Everything that you do in this life is the only thing that we want to remember. So, Fabián, un saludo para Fabián que me está viendo en este momento, para toda mi gente justamente que quieren participar en el Summer Elevate Virtual Camp. Honey, we are here for you every Thursday, todos los jueves, 7 de la noche para que nos vean aquí a nosotros, aquí Shaya y a mí, así que lo vamos a pasar porque es gratis y fabuloso. Así que se los tengo para todos ustedes. So thank you all for watching us. Just put the comments below and just relax because we're gonna talk about something that is very good for LGBT community, right?
Yes, Samantha. So I actually wanted to just ask a little question before we show any video clips
Yes.
or get into the panel. But obviously, you're a stunning, beautiful individual. I know you may have a relationship with a higher calling. Is that true? Like, is there a personal relationship that you have with faith? And how does that affect you?
Well, let me share with the people today that I got a really good experience with the religions and what you believe or you feed. Um, when I got to this country, I always been a Catholic person. I got Baptist and Catholic, and being a religious person. Sometimes we came from foreign country that we believe too much. Some family they don't have that belief too much into the family. But my family, we always grow up in this around like Jesus, and this is the thing that you have to do. The Holy Week, respect the Holy Bibles and things like that. But there's so many members of the family that says like, "Oh, you gay." You go to the hell, you do this, you do that, because, we don't believe in that, you're the worst person ever, blah, 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 blah. And also, I would like to share that I have a sister. My sister, she's very into the religions, like Christian religion, and she always said that, oh, there isn't a space and the heaven for you, but before that you have to, change the way that you think, and this and that. And I'm like,
Wow.
you kind of telling me that God doesn't create me, that I'm not a creature of God, because I decide to do this or I decide to do that. And then we have a really bad discussion at the end. I don't want to tuck into it, but thank God that a few years later she called me and she says like, you know what, doesn't matter what color is that outside. What matters is what you have inside. So God love you the way you are, respect you, and create you in this way. He doesn't want you to change anything, because you are the model of what he wanted to show to the rest of the world how we believe and how we can, believe in a community that, support each other, because love is the win, honey. So that's my recommendation for you.
Yes.
So what about you? Well, for me, I'm Christian, and I have an ex-boyfriend that he was a Judas, and I don't know what was that, but he was
Oh,
very
Jewish.
into
Yeah.
it. So
Oh,
yeah.
same,
So
same.
if you people have something you believe in, you have another religion. So put your comments below. We want to hear more about you, like what your practice, what you believe, and also we're gonna have panel discussion, as I said, to talk more about it. What about you, Kishan? Tell me what's going on that what you believe and make you stronger. God creates you.
Yes. So I am a person of faith. I have a very interesting relationship with religion and spirituality. Growing up, I was not forced to go to church. I wasn't forced to be religious. It was something that was, you pray before you have a meal. You thank God for being alive. If there are certain holidays, you spend time with family and you have certain traditions. Um, but I definitely spent my childhood like going to like Christian churches, going to Hindu temples, learning about Islam, learning about Buddhism. I had a very like diverse, multicultural, religious, spiritual experience. And as an adult, I find that every day talking to God in just general. Like God to me doesn't have to have a face, doesn't have to have a name, but there's just something greater than me that I pray to that gives me solace and reassurance and a calm that is already within. But I know that when I am in need of just that calmness and that love and that motivation, I do call on God. If there were a particular faith that I practice right now, would be Buddhism. I think there's just something that is less focused on you're a sinner, like that's what a lot of religions do. A lot of religions are like, okay, if you do this, you're a great person. If you do that, you're a sinner. But with Buddhism, what I love is that it's all about lessons. Like I find that there's a lot of encouragement in Buddhism. It's very kind. It also talks a lot about accountability and looking within. It's not just about okay, if you go to church this many times or if you do this amount of times, you'll be saved. But Buddhism really deals with the imperfections of the everyday human and how to be at peace with yourself. Like Buddhism is so much about peace with
Yes.
oneself, peace with others, and nature, in the earth. So that's what I enjoy. That's what I'm drawn to, and I respect all other religions because we all deserve that guidance. We all deserve that love, and I do feel that God loves all of us, no matter what our gender expression or sexual orientation is.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. God create you and God love you the way you are. So you have to be yourself. But the best part, you have to respect others' opinion and others' beliefs. So that's the way that we can
Yeah,
believe all and live all together. Because we are family. Hey,
yeah, 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 yeah.
still with me. Hey,
Ow,
make
ow,
it clap.
ow,
We are
ow.
family.
Family.
Yes.
Get up,
Let it go, let
everybody,
it
to
go. Yeah,
dance. Put
girl,
the
yeah,
fun,
girl.
put the fun.
So what's going on here? So we are ready just to check it out some video clips about what's going on, what you believe. Go and check it out and take a look. Take a look. Fancy.
You ready? Yes.
Okay, son, here we are. Summer camp. Now, go on, go play.
Hey, we got a shy one here? Yeah? Oh, don't worry. We are super fun here. And I promise I won't stop until this little guy's leaping and laughing like the other kids. So, kind of the top counselor here, it doesn't matter, but yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much. Well, just don't push him too hard. He has anger issues.
All right. Hey, little guy. My name's Thomas, and I'm going to be your best buddy today. All right. Come on. Let's go. Whoa. He's fun. Come on. Let's go play. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Come on. Go, go, go. Cyrus roasting weenies. Come on. Cyrus. Arts and crafts. It's Chloe. Sniff it. Sure you done it, so. Cyrus. Come on. Kayak. Cyrus. Come on. Tires. Come on. Oh. Come on. It's just sand. Really? Come on. Cyrus, get in the arm breaker. It's fun. Cyrus, Cyrus, Cyrus. What are we gonna do with you? Just hop in the pool. All the other kids are in there and they're having a blast.
No,
Ooh, it speaks. What the heck?
Ooh.
I want.
Oh,
Stop what, Cyrus? Trying to get you to have fun? Sorry.
You're making me mad.
I'm just trying to get you to have fun, Cyrus. So why don't you hop in the pool and we'll start having fun, okay? So let's get that shirt off and we can just give me your shirt.
Ooh,
Give me your
no.
shirt. Stop struggling. Yeah, that I don't want. Are you sure you're 10?
oh.
Huge mistake. What are you talking about, Cyrus? Ooh. This guy hit with a big headache. Ow. Oh. What the? Cyrus, stop.
Oh my.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. You know what? That was very, very, very unexpected. I didn't thought that he had that power, how to control people's mind. Oh, by the way, we want to say hi to Angel Camacho. Thank you, thank you that
Woo!
he's there. Yes.
Hi.
He's coming with with new music. I want to see you on UCTV at Friday participation. Angel Camacho, so you open to that community. Yes, yes, yes.
Rhythm, honey, rhythm.
Yes, yes, yes. So we are ready just to show more about what is the panel discussion that we have for today. Let's go and check it out this video.
John McNeil.
Yes.
His attitude was toward gay and lesbian Christians, and he said, "Who am I to judge?" Which is total reversal of the stand of both of them. In other words, he said, the judgment is God's and not mine.
And you've written several other books beyond the Church of the Homosexual. Can you talk a little bit about some of those?
I wrote, my favorite book is called Taking a Chance on God. And I wrote about my 50-year relationship with Charlie, who's standing right behind me.
Okay,
You hear
so
that?
just to give you all a little bit of background information, Father John McNeil, he was part of the church. He was an ordained Catholic priest. He was openly gay. He and his partner actually met during World War II. And obviously, at that time, it was very much taboo for the same gender loving people to be together. Because of his openness, he was actually excommunicated from the church. However, he dedicated most of his life to talking about religion and talking about spirituality and sexuality in the church, regardless of sexual orientation. But he basically became an advocate, an author, and his last public appearance, it was in 2015 actually with Unity Coalition. So this is someone who not only has a long-standing history with Unity Coalition, but this is someone who just overall in history, especially a place like church where we still have a lot of progress to make. This is someone who has contributed so much. So just wanted to give some love and some light and attention to Reverend John McNeil.
Absolutely.
So what's next,
So let's
Samantha?
check it out. So let's check it out. Oh, before that, I would like just to explain to the people that Mr. McNeil was the last time that we saw him was in 2015, and also he was his participation the last time at Elevate. So it was really, really sad just to see him for the last time, but we thank God that everything that he gave it to the community, thank God for everything that he teach us. He given the stronger to the people to continue believing God, even though that use sexuality, as you said, he always was for the LGBT community openly and say like, be stronger, you're not alone in this life, God love you and God protect you, and also helping for so many mental illness that most of LGBT
Yes,
community are passing, and we need God help, we need be stronger mentally and spirituality, and this is a good way how to keep your mind stronger and continue fighting because life is hard, and thank God for him, and I hope that he got a better life. So let's continue with the second video clip that we have here, Virtual Elevate.
what we got, what we got.
I don't
What's
know.
happening?
Let's check it out. Let's check it out. What's that? And a participation in Elevate.
Ah,
Is required that should be essential or part of our faith, our good practice.
And I'm a board member of the Unity Coalition. And Herbie asked me to take care of this panel here for religious diversity. And we have brought together some presenters who are part of the faith community here in Miami. Starting with, well, we're going to dig into introductions, but I'm very thankful for Herb and his leadership of the Unity Coalition. Thank you, Herb. And also very grateful to be hosted in
Daddy
this
Herbie.
space again, so thank you for making that happen. And we're still waiting for any moms on the get here, but we're just going to start the program, and wait until it gets here. So first, let's do some quick introductions, and I'm going to start with myself. My name is Carlos Marrero. And not only am I on the board of the Union Coalition, but I'm also the media director for St. Jonathan Lake United Methodist. And I am a progressive Christian in title, which means that I'm very open to things. We don't claim to own truth. And we're also very LGBTQA open, friendly, and fully accepting. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Gay.
I'm Reverend Gay Bosley Mitchell, and I'm actually ordained in the United Church of Christ, but I'm the worship pastor at St. John's on the Lake United Methodist Church. My husband, who is a United Methodist pastor, is the senior pastor, and I'm the worship pastor there. But St. John's on the Lake is the only United Methodist church on Miami Beach. They also are the only open and affirming congregation in all of South Florida, and they've had a very unique and very prominent witness to the LGBT community for 18 years now. So we are thrilled to be a part of that congregation and its work for social justice.
Hello, I'm Rabbi Rachel Greengrass. I am at Temple Bethlehem in Pinecrest, which is just South Miami. We are a large congregation, 1,325 families, and we are part of the Reform movement of Judaism, which believes that we should have choice through knowledge. So we learn about all of our sacred texts, but allow our people the freedom to make choices in terms of how they observe. We have had a presence in the LGBTQI community for quite some time, beginning in the 70s, fighting to make sure that gays and lesbians have protections. It was actually partially the result of a Reform Jew in Canada who made gay marriage legal in Canada, who argued that it was okay within their faith and therefore was not brought that to the Canadian government. So we've worked on marriage equality for quite some time. We've been ordaining gay and lesbian rabbis since the 90s, and my classmate Ruben Zalman was actually the first openly trans rabbinical student. Made a lot of headlines back in 2003, and yeah, we are also progressive and open, and really trying to do the work of what we call Tikkun Olam, which is healing the world, and therefore making the world more open and inviting for everyone.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Hunter Thompson from Miami Beach Community Church. I'm glad to be here. As Gail says, I'm also in the United Church of Christ. We have a very strong national proclamation in favor of LGBT rights and presence and ministry, and we call that presence the Open and Affirming Movement. We signed the Proclamation of Support in 1997, and so we have been quite active in that arena since. The Open and Affirming Proclamation is a public covenant of welcome and invitation to persons of all sexual orientations, gender identifications, and gender expressions. That not only requires for us to continue the process of education about what that means, but it also puts a responsibility on us to proclaim that proclamation in our public witness, how we live out our faith. And that includes being here at events like Elevate, participating in the AIDS Walk and Gay Pride, being not only in the public, talking about important issues, but also doing the work. We have to walk the walk. And so one of the things that is most challenging as communities of faith is motivating individuals in the congregation to move beyond just thinking about an issue into doing something about the issue and how to be active and engaged and what shape and form that work looks like. And That's part of the challenge of rabbis and pastors and priests and imams, is not only how do you move the human heart, but how do you move the human body into space and time to make a difference in the world. And so this discussion is not just about the mind and the soul, but also turning those intentions into action. And so I'm very pleased to be here today. And thank you, Herb and Harold, for the invitation.
So this panel's in a work very similar to the last one that we did last year and at Orgullo, which is we're going to have some questions for our panelists. And after they've answered the questions and they've said what they said, we're going to go into a question and answering phase from the audience. So, this might be weird, sorry.
Sure, like your personality.
Thanks, Hunter. So the first question is, have you ever personally experienced any religious intolerance? And I'm gonna go first and respond to this. And say that I personally have experienced some religious intolerance when it comes to me being a person of faith and also an out LGBT person. And being a progressive Christian also is sometimes not really understandable when it comes to the Christian right, the conservative Christians. And it's also not understandable when it comes to LGBT people who have been so shunned from the church that they don't understand that there is a way to be both. So in that sense, I have faced some religious intolerance. I mean, it's not major, but it is something that, that is a struggle for me to say, yes, I'm Christian, yes, I'm gay, and that's okay. So, I don't know.
I have experienced religious intolerance, but only within the Christian community. Obviously, being a Christian in the United States, we're the majority and are, in my opinion, hindered with the whole issue of white privilege. It's something that we have to constantly relearn and constantly be aware of, because it's hard when you grow up with that privilege to recognize just how deep it goes. And I am pleased to be a progressive Christian because it forces me to work on that privilege, that issue of privilege all the time. But being a progressive Christian, I have experienced a lot of religious intolerance within the Christian community. I happen to be pastor of a UCC church that was, for good or for ill, entitled the Trinity United Church of Christ in St. Petersburg. At the time that Barack Obama was running for election to president the first time, and his home church was also Trinity United Church of Christ, except in Chicago. And there was a huge controversy. For those of you who've been around long enough, you remember that there was a huge controversy over his pastor and some of the prophetic things that were being said. And I received a lot of hate mail and hate phone calls and folks who were saying, how can you even possibly claim you're Christian if you agree with these things? And so while I have experienced it, it's totally insignificant as opposed to the religious tolerance that many others have felt, including, I'm sure, the next two speakers. So.
Thank you, Pastor Gay. And I'm so happy that we have our fourth panelist here. And I'm going to let him introduce himself. And the first question that we're asking is, have you ever felt any personal religious intolerance? Share the story.
Assalamu alaikum, which is peace be on you. This is an Arabic greeting or Muslim greeting. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Abdul Hamid Samra. I'm Imam of Miami Garden Mosque. Of course, Imam is the word used for the one who lead the prayer and take care of religious affairs of the Muslim community. I'm also a professor at the University of Miami. To answer your question, the question is my feeling about. Let me make sure that I understood the question exactly. Not really myself or my family direct, but of course as an imam, which is I hear and I see from other our personally, I have not seen that directly. Of course, I mean, discrimination is sometimes in the blood of human beings that they do that no matter what. But sometimes it's up to a level which is accepted. It shouldn't go beyond a certain level. Of course, sometimes, yes, I don't know, sometimes the interpretation, like I go to a restaurant, especially if I have my wife and she put like a head cover. Sometimes if we see like not a good service, I say, well, maybe because we are Muslim or Muslim. But I mean, just to tell you that I have experienced any intolerance, I did not. Thank you.
So I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is the city of churches, and we had a very small Jewish community. And so growing up, I was a token and a bit of an anomaly, often the only Jew in a school or a given situation. I went to a public school which held school elections on Yom Kippur, which is the most holy day of the Jewish year, where it was guaranteed no Jews would be in school that day. Idols, and if anybody was upset about it, it didn't matter who made the complaint, it would get blamed on the Jewish community. I have been checked for horns. I've had lots of stereotypes heaped upon me, including assumptions that my family was wealthy, which it very much wasn't, that I was good at math, which I am, and just, very ignorant comments that I couldn't be Jewish because I don't have, I used to be a redhead, but it slowly has faded to brown, so I guess I'm looking more Jewish as I grow older, but that I didn't have the brown hair and the brown eyes or a big nose, which I always said, thank you. I was broken up with before when this guy only very shallowly had begun to date, found out I was Jewish, which obviously I was fine with. But it was always surprising. I grew up in an area where there were not very many Jews, but I very much grew up with a minority mentality and mindset, that it would catch me off guard. And I would often be jealous of my friends who had black and brown skin, who at least people, that if people were going to be intolerant, they were intolerant up front. Whereas sometimes I would begin to trust someone or begin to build a relationship with someone only to feel betrayed. So it was very disappointing. And so at my house was swastika, and my locker was swastika. My congregation also was swastika and defaced. And I was well liked, so it wasn't a personal thing. There was just a lot of ignorance, and it was very much just not people not knowing, and so that's why it's so important that we educate people about our faiths and about the really higher call that all of our faiths have of loving the stranger and taking care of God's creatures. So I have experienced a bit, nothing to the extent that I have permanent scars, but it has definitely molded me into someone with a very strong identity.
I am in a fairly unique position. I have experienced religious intolerance, but not around sexuality or sexual expression. Religious intolerance comes in a lot of different flavors. I have experienced it around what I believe, how I worship, the community upon which I choose to worship, and how I understand God and particularly how I understand the proclamation of being open and affirming. And I have been attacked by other denominations for my beliefs. I have been criticized for the proclamation of how I feel it is not only a responsibility of clergy, but it is essential for clergy to continue to speak on behalf of those who cannot still speak. Humankind that needs to be healed, there needs to be a wholeness and resolution around what individual expression looks like and honoring those differences. And so, though I personally have not been the victim of that, other than secondhand, my heart goes out and breaks for those who have, because that's a deep spiritual woundedness that they may or may not be able to recover from. And that is part of what I think is the mission and the ministry of the church, is to sit with that brokenness while also seeking healing.
Thank you, Hunter. The next question that we have for you all is, what does your particular faith position say about working together and about being more interfaith?
Our religion, which is Islam, Islam means submission to the will of God, and also means peace. Of course, our reference or sources, which is the Quran is the book that we revealed to Prophet Muhammad, peace be with him, and the messengers. We see in the teaching of the Quran and teaching of the Prophet himself that working together and respecting each other, or especially respecting other faith, is required, or should be essential or part of our faith, our good practice. The Prophet said that the best among you are those who are best to others. When you this translated your faith or belief in God, translated into your actions and behavior, that indication that you are a true believer. So our, in fact, basic concept of our religion based on believing in one God and also doing good to others. So from this point, yes, we are required to respect other faith, and God made it clear in the Quran that God has created different people, different faith, and He could have done it Himself, because we believe He's almighty and He can do anything He can. He could have created the people same faith and everybody following, but He said, I created to show this is a test for you, how you can deal with each other, and He made us into male and female and nations, tribes, so we may come together and live peacefully on this earth. He said, I created this earth for you, so everything is for you. Go ahead and find out more how you can improve your life and how you take advantage of the resources that Allah, for the word Allah for us in Arabic is same as God. He created all these things, and He wants from us is always to improve our life. And of course, part of improving our life is live in harmony and have respect to each other, and also work together for improving our life as a community. And I see, which is always I say, this is blessing that we are living in a place where we can meet and talk about these things. Even though this morning I just heard headquarters of ISNA. ISNA is Islamic Society of North America being vandalized. A group of people came and sprayed some paint and wrote some F word or whatever. And of course yesterday, or I think the day before yesterday, there was a shooting. I didn't hear the news that 3 Muslim young men were killed. were murdered. Unfortunately, this is happening, but I still say we are blessed, and I say thank to God that we are living in a place where we can talk, we can discuss things, how we can make it better for us. And I'm glad that I've been invited today, so I can see you, I can see my friends here, and see how we can improve our life, how we can improve our relation and make it better for everyone. Thank you.
So Imam Samba reminds me of one of our biblical interpretations. So I'm sure many of you may have heard of the story of the Tower of Babel, that the people, after the flood of Noah, came together and they were building this tower to the heavens. And they were working together, and God said, look at what they're doing. If they can do this, what's to stop them from doing other things? And so God spreads the people out and gives them different languages. So there's a rabbinic understanding of this story. This is like an origin story of why we have so many languages, but there's a rabbinic understanding that these different languages aren't, English and French and German, but that they're different faith paths and they're different understandings of God. And that when everybody had the same mindset and was thinking the same way religiously, that what they were creating was an abomination. And that really to truly understand God and what God means, you need to bring many, many voices to the table. And so the Jewish faith is one that certainly works for me. If you haven't figured that out, I'm not becoming a rabbi. But our faith does recognize that there are other paths to God, and it always has. It hasn't always gotten along with every other path, but it's definitely recognized the validity of those. And so we actually have a few concepts that reflect this. One is that we have a separate set of mitzvot, a separate set of commandments for people who are not Jewish. If you're Jewish, you have to keep 613. If you're not, there's only 7. And these are called the Noahide laws, and it's basically an understanding that Judaism is asking a lot of the individual, and it's not the right choice for everyone, but that if people are basically good people and can uphold these certain moral laws, that we also believe that they have a place in Olam Haba, in the world to come. We are also taught in our creation story that everyone was created b'tselem Elohim, which means in the image of God. So it's really incumbent upon us that even when we disagree with someone, that we are able to still see God within them. And within that, just speaking about the interfaith work that we do, we often see that there are many other faiths that have the same kinds of goals in achieving a better world and making it the kind of place that we want to live in. So we do work together. But I wanted to share that in the Torah itself, we are, just in the first 5 books, we are told no less than 36 times that it's our obligation to take care of the stranger. So it's not just coming together when it's mutually beneficial, but it's really our obligation to take
constructs. And so I think this is a really exciting time to starting to think about how interfaith dialogue starts to create new pathways so we can share the strengths of our faith and leave aside some of the things that might have caused division. So we don't have to get hung up on a particular tenet of faith. Instead, we can share all the vast resources, knowledge, and shared wisdom. And so I'm actually really excited for my daughter's future and her children's future as they engage their lives in faith.
Being one of 2 voices here and representing Christianity, I didn't want to have to always be first. So just let me add an aspect that Hunter didn't touch on, because there are so many. I do think it's important to name the elephant in the room, and I think that the #1 purveyor bearers of religious intolerance in the world today are Christians. And I think that there are some basic reasons why that has grown to be. But in our progressive understanding of the sacred scriptures from which we all Christians, come to faith and choose to be followers of Jesus, there's a critical passage in there where Jesus says, "Leave to Caesar what is Caesar, and leave to God, and bring to God what is God's." And that basic concept of the separation of church and state is something that has not always been popular among American and Western Christians. It seems that when Christianity became the sort of the law of the land in Rome, there's been a long heritage of intertwining the political systems and the religious systems in a way that has, in my opinion, corrupted Christianity and allowed it to become very imperialistic in nature. And so that concept of bringing Christianity back to a personal and a communal level of practicing the way of Jesus and not just the faith about Jesus is a way that that we choose to fight this imperialistic nature that popular Christianity has undertaken. And we do fight against particular scripture passages that are commonly interpreted in ways that we see as being inconsistent with what we believe that Jesus would have attended. But I think that very imperialistic, we're going to grow evangelical kind of focus. I'm not talking about evangelical beliefs. I'm talking about evangelical in that, we have to go and make disciples of all nations kind of thing. That is something that our progressive faith communities fight against, not because we see it as simply being wrong, but because we see it as actually, in reality, being anti-Christian rather than to be faithful Christians.
At the Corvallis Congregational Church, they have this program called Theologian in Residence, and we had a scholar from Iona. He's a pastor there, and he is a very Irish Celtic spirituality person. And I asked him, what is the state of Christianity in Europe? And he said the state is very dim. Christianity, where Europe has gone into a post-Christian history, that Christianity is no longer even a thriving force. And I asked him why. He says because in Europe, Christianity always came with the state. So when the state messed up, it was always under the guise of the Christian God, and Christianity came with that. But he said that he was very hopeful for American Christianity because in America he saw that Christianity was always against the state, when the state was doing something that was wrong. So that to me gave me a lot of faith that yes, we can make a difference. But it also shows that what Pastor Gabe was talking about, how Christianity with the state, what it does is that it makes people want to leave the faith because you see it as a very controlling and very imperialistic one too. Anyone want to add anything else to this question? So this also leads to the great next question, which is, with the current state of the world and the charged political rhetoric in the US and in Europe, how can we respond to calming the fear and for some even answering some of the ignorance of those who seek to use religion and to use immigrants and the immigrant flight as a political tool? And how can we, really respond to that in a way that makes it very educational and just not aggressive?
Right, I like this. Good window. So how can we respond to the rhetoric? I think first off, if everyone in this room is not bothered, if not terrified by the rhetoric, you should be. Because I think it represents some of the darker aspects of human society, or our American society, which a lot of voices that were silent but there, operating underneath the surface, not dormant, but not publicly professed, are now being publicly professed and even upheld as being messages that we should embrace and be attracted to. And I'm frankly quite bothered by this. I'm curious about why the progressive Christians have not been more vocal, and I'm now beginning to get an understanding that they are, they're just not heard. I'll give you a perfect example. There's the Pastor Protection Act, which I've been fighting for some time up in Tallahassee, and I've written several editorials to the Miami Herald, and I've gone up there and testified a couple of times, and it's been part of what I perceive to be pushing back, articulating my faith, in some ways supporting and protecting a community of believers at Miami Beach Community Church who certainly don't need any more discrimination and certainly don't need the state of Florida passing laws which will make it easier for the LGBT community to be discriminated against. And I think that that's part of what I need to do. And yet it's been really quiet. It's not that I haven't been sending stuff out, it's not that I haven't been testifying, it's just that guess what? It doesn't make news. Because the public wants to hear the Donald Trump comment, they want to hear the rhetoric, they want to hear the condemnation, they want to hear the division. It's almost as if America now is addicted to the faux drama that comes with these false conversations about society. Because I don't think they represent what our country is all about. So how do we respond? I think as faithful people of faith, we have to respond in a way that is appropriate for our community. And I think that that's going to take any number of forms, from speaking about it in the pulpit, educating forums like I did this afternoon. We had the Ahmadiyyan community come and worship with us today. We hosted a lunch for them. They got to speak about their perceptions, their faith, their understanding of Islam in the world. And 35 other people that were in our congregation for the first time got to hear Muslims stand up and go, "We do not condone hate in any form." And that's what we can do. We can offer those kinds of points of light to bring a new conversation, a new dialogue. And every community of faith has different tools, different gifts, and different abilities. But it's important for us not to shrink. This is, I think, very important. We should not shrink from the conversation because it's overwhelming. We should not be afraid because the rhetoric is deafening. The rhetoric will subside. We have to do the work which will change the hearts and minds of the future generation. This rhetoric right now is pandering to the fear of a generation which is passing. It is pandering to the fear of a political position which will give way to the inevitability of the millennial generation. It is upon the millennials to keep the dialogue alive. It is what you do in this time that will dictate how future generations will live. And so I encourage you to keep fighting, and however your community of faith understands an appropriate response, it should use every tool, every opportunity to push back.
I think just picking up on what you just commented, it reminded me of Martin Luther King Jr. and he says the long arc of history bends towards justice, that it is a matter of time, as long as we continue to step forward. And I think what is so scary right now is that it almost feels as though the country is taking steps backward. And I think that there's a few reasons why this is happening. And one has to do with what we were speaking about, which is tolerance. And if you think about that word, it is not a high and lofty goal. Tolerating is like you tolerate, an itchy mosquito bite. You know, that's not where we really want the world to be. And I think that when we rest, because we've gotten to a place of tolerance of people of difference, then that's where it's really dangerous. Because we all live in Florida, you know that it doesn't take much to start itching that mosquito bite again, right? It's, tolerance is not the goal. The goal should really be understanding and even appreciating and understanding those gifts that people of difference bring to the table. And it's really that, it's not, you know, that intolerance of that is, we can get along with each other as long as we talk about these certain topics. To really say, no, I want my friend Imam Samra at the table because I know he has a gift to bring that you need to hear. And to really get to a place of love and appreciation. The other reason I think that this is happening is that we're responding to feelings and we're playing on people's feelings. And the news has very much turned to a circus of emotion instead of facts. So what should have happened when an ignorant would-be leader who shall remain nameless says something that all Muslims are terrorists, or that all Mexicans are rapists, right? What should that be responded to? Not just, oh my gosh, can you believe he didn't say that? No, what should be responded are the facts. And the facts are that the vast majority of terrorist activities are not done by Muslims. And the vast majority of Mexican citizens who come over our border are not rapists. And the vast majority of immigrants who come over our border are not Mexican. You know, this is that like less than 3% of immigrants come to the United States are Mexican. I think it would even be less than 1%. That is how we should be responding. Not just, don't say that because we love each other, because that gives this kind of underground impression that it might be true, but it's not true in this particular case of this particular person. The fact is that it's just not true. And so it shouldn't be given airtime, it shouldn't be given credence, it should be responded to with facts. I do want to say that, as you mentioned, there have been a lot of responses of love and people coming together and saying, this is enough. You should know that Muslims marched on Washington and said this does not represent our faith. But that was not covered by the media. And you should know that when a certain candidate said something about not allowing Muslims into our country, or even worse, giving images that reminded us of the Holocaust, of taking censuses, that immediately over 1,300 rabbis petitioned the White House. You cannot get 3 rabbis to agree on very much, so to get 1,300 to write immediately is a very big deal. And so we are the voices out there, and we are trying to bring what we believe is God's light to the world, all of us who are uniting in faith, to really say, these are, whoever we're talking about, these are God's creatures. And we need to be doing what we can to protect them, because we look at that as a religious duty and obligation.
By the regime, by the government. And then when they went peacefully to demonstrate, they were faced with bullets, and many of them killed. Then they decided to defend themselves. And here where, unfortunately, different powers from different places, Iran, Russia, Hezbollah, whatever other came into, and also they formed this what we call ISIS. And they call themselves Islamic State. And unfortunately, they have only nothing to Islam except the name. What they are practicing is everything against Islam and Muslims. The first they kill Muslims, and of course they pretend that they will protect Islam and they want to propagate Islam and and spread Islam. And this is absolutely not right. And unfortunately, we see them that they are supported. And most of their support is from non-Muslims. I mean, when we talk about where they're getting their money, where they're getting their weapons, we see, I don't see too many Muslim countries, they manufacture weapons, unfortunately. But the thing is, I think as Muslims, yes, we are going through difficult time. And of course, difficult year also because it's election year. And we see those coming from these candidates talking about Islam and Muslim in a wrong way. I mean, we are 1.5 or almost 1.5 billion Muslims all over the world. And I tell you, if 95 or even more than that are good people and they want to live in peace, they have respect for all other religion, and they are, you know, they want peace. Of course, you people who try to take the name of the religion and use it for their own interest or their own purpose, and especially when it comes to politics being used, unfortunately. And this is what we see exactly in what's happening in Syria. I mean, for me, I go whenever I have any opportunity to go, and believe me that for the last maybe 6 months, every week, maybe once or twice, I go to a school or a church or a college or any place where I can talk about Islam and Muslims. I think education and let people know what is Islam and what are the Muslims, it's important. And this is same for all religion. Only 2 days ago or 3 days ago, I was in a school where you have a panel of maybe 6 or 7 religions: Buddhist, Hindu, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, and everyone talking about, you know, his perspective. And I believe this is important. No question. It looks like this is our time as Muslims, that we are under the, you know, the lights. And the Jews were, I say, 70 years ago, or even maybe less. So I hope and pray that with our effort and working together, that we can clear the image and show that people, yes, we are, all of us are good citizens. We all work for the benefit of, you know, this place. Always I look at religions and different religions at two relations. And you mentioned something about Caesar and, you know, I look at it as two relations. One is a relation between a person and God, and then the other relation between people, which is person to person. I say, well, even God say, do not interfere with my relation with other people. Let them worship the way they want. It's none of your business. So I don't want to interfere with any other religion, how they pray and what they even believe. But I care about my relation with them. And God made it clear for us, improve your relation. Work with everybody. Try to emphasize on the relation among yourself. Leave that relation, I know everybody, I know what's in the heart of the people, that things you don't know, so you cannot judge people. I'm the one who judges the people, and it is up to me, whatever I do. Don't ask me or you know, request or give me orders. Just take care of yourself, among yourself as people, and my relation with other people, I take care of it. Because as an essential part also of our faith, we believe in the day of judgment, that there will be a day where everybody will be standing before God, and he'll be accountable, he or she will be accountable for all the deeds. And he said, the best among you is those who can deal with other people or treat other people kindly, and you are not supposed to judge people because you don't know what's in their heart. You don't know what is in their faith. And it is not your duty or not business to do so. So if I take this concept and say to everyone, including, of course, my community, you don't have to worry about other people, how God created us. And he said in the Quran clearly that the children of Adam being honored. And when we talk about children of Adam, that means everyone. We're not talking about any faith or any belief. So this is what part of our faith is, to honor the children of Adam. And then God, he could honor anyone else. I mean, he can take only the Jews to heaven and leave the rest, or the Christians, and take us Muslims, take part of us, but God, in fact, showed us this is the way. This is the way to get to heaven, to get to paradise, to live a good life, is to believe in God and to do good to other people. So if we just go from there, I know we know the way, and then we let him decide among us. And hopefully we can, talk more about it and have more education, so that we clear all this fear and break all these barriers. And hopefully one day, we don't see these type of problems that we are hearing in the news, like vandalizing, many places mosques being vandalized and centers, and some people being killed. And of course a lot of, the media, and I want just to comment on the media, unfortunately, is not, I would say, is not really doing a good job in terms of bringing people together. And also the candidates, the presidential candidate, not all of them, working towards, especially to be the leader. Of course, the president of the United States is the one that to bring everybody together. So where to start? This is the way should be any leader. A successful one is to be able to bring everyone together. And unfortunately, some of these comments are creating division and even hate. And the media is repeating this over and over. And of course, this is hurting. But again, God told us life is a struggle, so you have to struggle. You have to stand for the truth and just be good. Take good care of yourself in doing right things and stand for the truth wherever you can.
In our tradition, we would say, preach it, brother. Necessarily that I think is true, particularly, we all represent portions of our faith that are on the forefront, I think, of moving forward within our faith. And we all, through all of our faith traditions, have those who want to cling to what would be considered very fundamentalist belief and don't want to be open to the answers. I think I probably speak for all of us in that we try very hard to educate the folks in our communities and to effect a change within the folks within our communities to be more loving and caring. I totally agree with you 100% that we need to go beyond tolerance into actually loving and caring for each other and respecting differences in paths and culture and whatever other aspects of things that make humans different that there is. But one of the issues that I think often happens is that when you're trying to make change within all aspects of your own faith tradition, you often are focusing on changing. I know we have different terminologies, but from a Christian perspective, we're looking to change the church. And sometimes we need to recognize that that's not enough, that we really do need to be focused on changing the world. And so I think that particularly because we do want to proclaim love, a lot of times we don't like to participate in what we would see as tough love. And so I think that also lends itself to our voices not being heard as far and wide as we should be. It's hard to just, really hold somebody accountable, although I think we should. I agree 100% with Rachel to say, but this just isn't true. And I think it's important for us to say that within our own faith traditions as well, that this just isn't true. It just isn't so. Just because it's popular doesn't make it right, doesn't make it truth with a capital T. I use that terminology a lot. And I guess what I would say is that there are millions of people out there working to make this change. And part of the reason that I think that they don't have the voice that they should is because we are all a minority. I mean, maybe not. I don't know how big is Reformed Judaism versus all of Orthodoxy or whatever.
We're the largest movement in the United States.
But in the world.
But in the world, Orthodoxy is the most popular.
Yeah, so we're all minorities probably within our traditions. You guys probably have a lot longer. You've got a lot longer history than we have as far as doing that. And so often I think that we tend to be wanting to change what we feel like we can, and we're not as good as we should be about banding together across the line to speak out against that. But it's something that we work at all the time.
So now we go into a time of question and answering, Q&A from the audience. So if you have questions, please stand and ask away and ask any of our panelists. Yes, Jay?
So I have a question because I go to FIU, and it's a public institution. And the main people that I see there, like, proclaiming something are evangelicals, and they're spewing hate, and they're, like, turning people away from religion. And they're turning people away from what I believe in. And it angers me. And, like, when I'm passing by them going to class, it's like I try to not let them get to me, and I'm like, okay. But it's like, you were talking bad about my God. Like, this is not what God should be, what God proclaims, and this is not, you're, like, spewing hate on people, and you're making, like, people feel less than. And I'm trying to figure out a way to, like, combat that in an educational way, and combat that in, like, some way, us as progressive, whatever religion we are, to combat that, because when they're the loudest, like the man that's running for president, if they're the loudest, it's so, yes, like Voldemort, but yeah, they're the loudest, and yes, we do like these educational sessions, and we have these times, but it's, how do we step out of that and like actually get that loud and get that obnoxious with what we have and what we are about? So, you want to have anything?
I think there's something like very ironic about like what you're talking about, like moderate zealots.
Yes.
Straight to the street. I think it's that's a good question. I think when there's a moment for us to get passionate, and we do. But in terms of that's a very good question, because you know, when you are from a belief that it's okay for people to believe differently than you, you don't have that same kind of fire in your butt to try and convert the masses to your way of thinking. So I do certain things. I was like, so say I'm wearing my kippah or yarmulke, and it's a sign. It's actually not commanded anywhere to wear this for men or for women, but men typically wear it. I did not wear it for a long time, and then I realized that I wanted people to be able to see I was Jewish when I was doing the things I was doing. So I was working at a soup kitchen, and no one knew I was Jewish. And I said, they should know that I'm Jewish. You know, coming to Pride, coming to, you know, to speak in front of people, even just being a woman and wearing the kippah, I understood that I was making a statement. And so I began to adopt this as something that I do, even though it's not traditionally something that a woman would wear. I'll tell you too that I have like recently purchased a series of T-shirts, which is really, but when I'm not in my rabbinic garb, that I want people to understand what Judaism is about. So I have T-shirts that say in Hebrew, you know, that to love your neighbor as yourself, and other things like that. You know, really trying to say, you know, there's not you know, especially being in Miami, there is a certain Jewish community that you can recognize as Jewish. But I wouldn't be someone that even they would recognize, you know, no one would recognize me if I'm not wearing the kippah as, like, I'm sure she's a Jew, right? So how to bring that out, and in that way it is kind of, you know, just saying that this is also what it looks like to love God.
At the risk of being too inflammatory, which I don't really have much problem. It's been my experience that more conservative elements within Christianity, they play as close to the edge of the rules as they can get away with, and they do it in almost defiance. And they don't care. They're big, they're loud, they're well-financed, and they're visible. And they are literally, they're proud of being the largest, biggest voice on the block. And we're small, or at least Gay and I come from a section of Christianity where we're smaller. We can't be all places. We can't be all things. And so sometimes we're not present to offer an opposing opinion or to offer a more representative voice of our teachings. So what you might do is call us and say, I'm offended by this. Could you come out and be a presence? And we might not be able to do it all by ourselves, but we might be able to get 3 or 4 different churches to be committed to coming out and being a presence. Secondly, I think if they're proselytizing and it's harming you as an individual, then you certainly should make a note of that, maybe with the administration, and keep them within the guidelines of the university. I worked for a public university for a number of years. Proselytizing was absolutely forbidden, and even faith-based clubs had very strict guidelines. And so if you're being offended, that tends to tell me they're doing something that's not appropriate or probably within guidelines. And so again, it's kind of calling people out as gently as you can, not trying to harm yourself or to create more harm, but to just say, look, if you're going to be here, let's be respectful. And I think that's part of one of the ongoing tensions in faith generally, is there are a certain group of people that say, we want to be truly respectful of each other and honor the differences, and another group within our same faith who say, we don't care about that. We don't want to honor other people, we want them to convert. And so if your primary purpose is conversion, then you're going to be less likely to give people space, to allow them time to explore other ideas, to come into faith in their own maturation process. In other words, for example, I have a member now who will not speak to me because I brought Muslims into the church. Because my job is not to speak to them or to learn from them, it's to convert them. And if I didn't bring them in the church to convert them, then I wasn't doing my job. And so these are the kinds of things, these minefields we keep running into. And if we make each other aware of them, then we've got a better shot. And when folks like you can let us know where they are, then maybe we can help each other.
Yeah, I believe in Jesus. So
I know, actually.
Yeah,
I know.
You know, it is really, you know, we are in the 21st century, and we know this technology and this communication, and everything becomes like available. I think it's a matter of attitude, as anyone of any faith, which is this is what I tell my people. I'm convinced. Yes, the way we're practicing is the right way, in the best way for us, but not for other people. That's why I'm following the religion of Islam, because I believe this is a true religion and hopefully lead me to be successful in this life and also in the hereafter. But my religion told me never say that you are the only orderly 2% and other people are not. So I think in the matter of attitude, when I present my religion, it is clear in the Quran, God said to Prophet Muhammad when he was propagating the message, he said, you are only to deliver the message. Never force people to accept you, because it's not in your hand. This is God. He's the one that made it for a person to convince her. Of course, we know God has systems. Like when He gave us this intelligence and gave us a mind to think and to listen, and then make our decision. And He holds us responsible for our decision. I think it's a matter of attitude that, yes, I disagree with the word tolerance. It has to be respect. It has to be changed into respect each other. And when we talk about our religion, we want to present our point of view and let people make a decision. Let's hear from everyone and not just have this attitude that, yeah, yes, of course, as for me as a Muslim, it's in the religion that if you guide somebody to your religion, then your reward is big. But show that in good actions. Be a good example. Attract the people who think you do good to them. They might be attracted. And first of all, before you even can preach people, it's myself. I have to be good myself. I have, to conduct myself good, so people will be impressed with my behavior, not with just what I say. So this is important. Thank you.
I don't have an answer for you, but I have an experience to share. The years that I was the pastor at Trinity UCC in St. Petersburg, we were one of the few churches that made a very large, well, as large as we could, presence at Gay Pride, which in St. Pete is huge. And every year, even though I became more and more closer friends with the folks who organized it, they always put our tent almost to the end, the far western edge of all of the vendors that were bringing tents. And we happened to be not too far from the place that the city designated that all the protesters would be. And so for 5 times, for 5 prides, I was asked by folks at Pride, because you're a Christian, you're a church that's represented here, go take care of them. So I've had a personal experience of dealing with people like that. And the only thing that I tried in all of those years that worked, and I can say that I figured it out on my 4th year, and it worked that year, and it worked the 5th year that I was there. Not saying it'll always work, but it worked for me 2 out of 5 times, so 40% of the time. And that was that I reminded them that they were not the only faith community. They were not the only religious perspective that were trying to get a message to this particular population of people. And many of us worked very hard to work within the rules that were set up, the parameters within which it was appropriate to talk to these people and to approach them. And I reminded them that they were taking the lazy way out, because they were not willing to work within the organization or within the structure or within what was appropriate, as do many other religious groups, in order to have a voice. And that, a public street corner may be something, but this is a place of education and interest. And so we would really appreciate it if they really want their message to be heard, to participate within the organization or the institution, in order to be able to have an audience with those people. Like I said, it doesn't always work, but it worked for me 2 years in a row, and so that's the tack that I usually try to take in that kind of situation. So.
Well, we have run out of time, but thank you so much for a fabulous panel for coming today, and we will I'm not sure, Kirby, but is there going to be a tent for Elevate our Guyo Pride Festival this coming year?
That's stop.
Okay, so we'll probably...
And it'll be front and center as it was this past year as well. Not off to the side.
Awesome. So we will probably have another one of these panel events at the Guyo Pride Festival. That is on...
Saturday, October 1st at Bayfront Park.
Saturday, October 1st at Bayfront Park. So thank you so much for coming, and feel free to share afterwards.